Following Crit Llewellyn is no easy task, and when I filed for this office, I knew I was going to be in the business of trying to do that for some time. I think it's important that all of us acknowledge that in some form or fashion, regardless of what we do in life, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And for 35 years, Crit Llewellyn has represented the gold standard in public service in Kentucky. And it is her example, her friend and mentorship that she's offered me for the last 15 years that I hope to emulate in the office. And as I travel around the state, 35,000 miles, 80 counties, a tireless work schedule, and I reach out and people say, Adam, I know the office is important, but I've got two questions to ask you. The first is inevitably, is Crit Llewellyn running again? Thankfully, the answer is no. She's term limited for me. Secondly, well, is she for you? And folks, you know, we did some research. I'm the first Democrat to be unopposed in a statewide primary in over 70 years who wasn't either an incumbent or a previous statewide office holder. Now, I know that wasn't because of anything I brought to the table. It was because of early strong support of people like you and the early strong support of one Crit Llewellyn that made the difference for me. And I want you to know throughout this campaign, I won't let you down because there's just way too much at stake. I think Crit's most impressive contribution to public life, particularly over the last 7.5 years as state auditor, is that she's taken an office that, while we've had distinguished public service in it prior to her service, I would submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the auditor's office is now the second most important office we have in state government. And that's a credit to Crit's work ethic. It is a credit to the fearlessness and utter integrity that she brought to this job, the way that she has fought for the taxpayer when it was easy to do and when it was difficult to do. And that's going to be the kind of auditor that I'm going to be. Because folks, in an era in which the one we're living in, when families are literally gathered around kitchen tables, trying to figure out how they're going to send their daughter to college, how they're going to meet the mortgage, how they're going to pay for health care, the people of Kentucky now more than ever need a strong and loyal and fearless advocate on their side. Not only watching their wallet, but watching their backs. Because folks, it's a time of unprecedented economic difficulty. And I know, you know, there are those of us who have been blessed here with good fortune. I probably wouldn't be asking you to write the big checks you had if you hadn't been blessed with such good fortune. But let's not forget that this is a state chock full of people who are having a difficult time making ends meet, who gladly offer up what they can to the state to pay for things like good roads, world-class schools, ethical government, and what they expect in exchange is a government as good as they are. And ladies and gentlemen, we need an auditor like Crit Llewellyn who will keep up the good work of demanding that the people of Kentucky get the government they deserve. I would submit to you that I'm going to be that kind of state auditor. You know, I was talking to my dad earlier. My dad is a farmer back in Meade County, and we were under a horrible weather forecast, I think, as everybody knows. And I said, Dad, you're courageous. You know, I don't know what the Lord has against me. Our first fundraiser in Lexington, for those of y'all who were here, remember we had 60-mile-an-hour straight line winds. The doors blew off Joe, and I want to thank Joe Costa for not billing us to repair the doors. The second fundraiser we had in Lexington, we had it in the winter, and Gene, you were there, we had 6 inches of snow. Gene was one of 5 people there. I want to thank him for that. This trip, I said, Dad, you know, they're saying hail, maybe even thunderstorms. You know, the Lord's against me. I don't know what to make of it. And keep in mind, my father is a farmer, ladies and gentlemen, a man who literally complains about the weather for a living. And he said, son, what you drew in the primary and what you drew in the general, you have got no right to complain about where the Lord is. But this is an important race. Y'all know how important it is. Everybody who lives anywhere else than under a rock knows the good work that Crit's done. My dad raised me to not kick a man while he's down. So I'm not going to talk about my opponent much. But what I will say, Bob Layton, is that what Crit has left us, in terms of her service and in terms of a revitalized and super dynamic auditor's office, is one that that's a legacy we can't squander. And I won't let you down in that job. You know, it's an important job to make sure that we've got the resources in place for the people who need them most. And I want to fight for the folks every day who didn't have a chance, because 36 years ago I was one of those kids. For those of you who've heard this story, I apologize, but you're going to hear it a lot between now and the election, because I'm proud of where I came from, but I understand the obligation that those of us who have done well, who have benefited from the hard work of our labors, that which we owe to other people coming up behind us. Because by the numbers, a kid like me never had a chance. My mother was 2 months shy of her 17th birthday when I was born. My dad made a living building grain bins. And I didn't have much of a chance, certainly with that sort of background, to go on and have some of the opportunities that I've had. The opportunities to work and learn from the best and the brightest. To make my place in the world, not knowing a soul, just through hard work. But I benefited from a couple of things that I did have going for me. One, I had parents who fought and scrimped to make sure that I had every opportunity in life coming up. The other was that I was lucky enough to be born in Kentucky, a place where potential is always more important than position. And that's got to be the role of government. You know, it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's not about party. It's not about the inside baseball that the newspapers seem to get obsessed with. This is about real people, and it's about putting a government in place that realizes the potential of people and helps them realize that potential. It's not about equality of outcome, but it is about equality of opportunity. And being the state auditor who can make sure that we save every dollar we possibly can, who's willing to root out waste and corruption and inefficiency, because a dollar saved is a dollar that we can invest in the world-class schools that our kids deserve. It's a dollar that we can invest in building the kind of economy that provides for everybody who's willing to work. It's about making sure that we realize the American dream for our young people and the communities that they were born in. That's my mission. I hope to make that my life's work. But this is an office that matters. This is an opportunity that matters. And your willingness to come out repeatedly, I would say that most of the people here writing their second check to me, I really appreciate that. It's important, because I wouldn't be in the position I'm in going into the fall if it weren't for you. And politicians travel all over the state and they make all sorts of promises. I'm going to make one. And that is, if you give this young man the opportunity to go to work for you every day, bringing all the vigor and passion that I have to make sure that government runs better, if you give me the opportunity to fight for you every day, fearlessly rooting out corruption and inefficiency and waste, if you give this young man the opportunity to fight for you every day, fashioning the kind of future that we all want for Kentuckians, that we want for our young people. I've got 5-year-old twin sons. I want them to understand that they live in a Kentucky where it's not written that their destiny is mediocrity. Nowhere is it written that Kentucky has to settle and be something less than the sum of its great parts. I want the opportunity to go to work for you as your state auditor, continuing the work of Crit Llewellyn, providing you a government that you can be proud of, providing you with a little new blood and a little new enthusiasm and a little new passion to throw at some of the very old problems that we've had to deal with for years. Ladies and gentlemen, if you give me that opportunity, I'll promise you this: I'll make you proud. Thank you very much.